At 11:47 on a Tuesday night, your phone vibrates. A wire has landed. $8,420,000. You stare at the number. Then refresh the screen. It is still there. You sold the company quietly. After taxes, debts, and everyone else gets paid, this is yours. You are rich. Very rich. The next morning, you put on the same jacket, drive the same car, and walk into the same coffee shop. The barista barely looks up. Name? Same cup, same table, same treatment. Nobody knows. And for the first few days, that feels almost disappointing. Then you realize something. This may be the most honest version of the world you will ever see. Because right now, people are still treating you like they did before the money. That is about to change. At 9:12, your phone rings. Unknown number. You let it go to voicemail. Then it rings again. It is your bank. Yesterday, you had one person to call. Today, apparently, you have a team. A private banker introduces himself. Then an investment advisor. Then someone asks whether you need help with lending, taxes, or estate planning. You have not bought anything. You have not changed your clothes. But one number changed inside a computer. And suddenly, people who never knew you existed know your first name. You hang up. 5 minutes later, another bank calls. That is your first clue. Money changes how institutions treat you before it changes how people do. But outside the financial system, you still look exactly the same. Which becomes very interesting when you walk into a place where appearances matter. Saturday afternoon, you walk into a luxury watch store. You are wearing sneakers, an old jacket, and the same cap you have owned for years. A salesman looks over, then back at another customer. That customer is wearing a suit and trying on a $40,000 watch. You wait. 30 seconds. A minute. Finally, someone walks over. Just looking today? You smile. Actually, I wanted to see that one. You point to a watch behind the glass. The salesman pauses. Not rude, just careful. He starts explaining the financing options before he explains the watch. And that is when it hits you. Your bank knows you can buy the entire display. This man is not sure you can buy one watch. So you leave. Not because you are offended, because now you are curious. How often were people doing this before you had the money? And how quickly would it change if they knew? You get the answer 2 days later. You meet an old friend for lunch. Halfway through the meal, his phone buzzes. He looks at the screen, then at you. Wait, you sold it? You say yes. He turns the phone around. There's a small business article with your name in it. No exact number, just enough. His posture changes, only slightly, but you notice. 5 minutes ago, he was telling you about his new job. Now, he is asking what you are investing in. Then, what you think about real estate. Then, whether you know anyone who funds startups. The waiter comes over with the bill. Your friend reaches for it, then stops. You've got this one, right? He laughs. You laugh too. But the joke lands differently now. Nothing about lunch changed. The food is the same. The table is the same. You are the same. Only his estimate of your bank account changed, and somehow the whole conversation moved with it. At first, nobody asks you for money, not directly. Your brother sends you a listing for a house. Crazy what this costs now. A friend mentions a business idea, not asking for anything, just curious what you think. Someone else suggests a group trip that suddenly has a much nicer hotel. Individually, none of it means much. Then your calendar starts filling. Coffee with someone who wants advice. Dinner with someone who wants an introduction. A call from someone you have not heard from in 3 years. Some genuinely like you. Some genuinely need help. And some are simply reacting to new information. The hard part is that they rarely come with labels. You cannot see who wants you and who wants access to what you have. So you start doing something strange. You talk about money less than you did before you had it. A month later, you attend a small business dinner. Nobody there knows your story. At first, you are just another person at the table. One guy keeps interrupting you, another barely acknowledges you. Then the host walks over. He knows about the sale. He puts a hand on your shoulder. There he is. I've been trying to get this guy here for months. The table changes. The man who kept interrupting you asks what industry you are in. Someone moves a chair closer. Another person wants your opinion on a deal he mentioned 10 minutes earlier. Same face, same clothes, same ideas, different social value. And now you understand why quiet wealth can become addictive. When people do not know, you get to watch how they behave before status enters the room. Once they know, you can never fully unknow the difference. So you stop making it easy. You keep the old car. You do not post the hotel. You stop mentioning the company sale. When someone asks what you do, you say, I work with a few businesses. Technically true. At a restaurant, you let someone else choose the wine. At the airport, you do not talk about where you are sitting. You discover that looking ordinary gives you something money usually takes away. Information. You see who is patient with the waiter, who talks down to the receptionist, who calls only when they need something, who is still interesting when there is nothing obvious to gain. But hiding wealth creates a new problem. Sometimes people underestimate you so badly that it costs you opportunities. And now you have to decide when staying invisible is useful and when it is just getting in your own way. 6 months after the wire lands, you are back at the same coffee shop, same jacket, same order. The barista asks for your name. Nothing has changed. Then someone at the next table recognizes you. He walks over. Are you the guy who sold that company? The barista looks up. The conversation changes immediately. You can almost see the moment the information moves through the room. And that is when the real difference becomes clear. Becoming rich does change how people treat you. Banks call. Strangers listen longer. Old friends ask different questions. Some doors open faster. Some relationships become harder to read. But quiet wealth gives you one advantage that visible wealth cannot. You decide when the money enters the conversation. Before people know, you get to see how they treat you without it. After they know, you get to see what changes. And once you have seen both versions, you notice something you could never see before. The biggest change is not that people suddenly treat you better. It is that you finally understand what they were responding to all along.